I stood in the middle of the pitch-black road, the trees towering over me like dark sentinels. The air was thick with the scent of pine and damp earth, but my senses were overwhelmed by the sound of footsteps, heavy, deliberate, and getting closer. My heart pounded in my chest as I tried to see through the darkness, but the figure remained just out of sight, a silhouette against the night. Panic gripped me. How did it come to this? It all began earlier that evening, a night meant to be spent in relaxation and laughter. My boyfriend, Tom, and I decided to take a drive through the countryside, away from the city lights. We found a secluded spot in the woods, perfect for some alone time and stargazing. The road we took was winding and narrow, surrounded by dense forest on both sides, creating a natural barrier from the outside world. "Look at that," Tom said, pointing to the sky filled with stars. "Isn't it beautiful?" I nodded, feeling a sense of peace wash over me. It was rare for us to get away like this, and the tranquility of the night was a welcome change. After a while, we decided to head back. The drive was uneventful at first, the headlights of Tom's car cutting through the darkness. We chatted about our plans for the future, the music playing softly in the background. But then, as we rounded a particularly sharp bend, the car sputtered and came to a stop. "Damn it," Tom muttered, turning the key in the ignition again and again, but the engine refused to start. "Looks like we're stuck." We sat in silence for a moment, the realization of our predicament sinking in. I checked my phone, no signal. Tom suggested we start walking back towards the main road to get help, and reluctantly, I agreed. We grabbed a flashlight from the glove compartment and started our trek down the dark road. The forest was eerily quiet, the only sounds were our footsteps and the occasional rustle of leaves in the breeze. The further we walked, the more uneasy I felt. It was as if the trees were closing in on us, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. I tried to shake off the feeling, focusing on the beam of light ahead. After about half an hour, we heard it, a faint rustling behind us. We stopped, straining to listen, but the sound was gone. We resumed walking, but the rustling returned, closer this time. "Did you hear that?" I whispered, gripping Tom's arm. "Yeah," he replied, his voice tense. "Probably just an animal." But deep down, I knew it wasn't. There was something sinister about the sound, something that made my skin crawl. We quickened our pace, but the rustling followed, growing louder and more persistent. Panic set in as we broke into a run, the flashlight bouncing wildly in Tom's hand, casting erratic shadows on the road. Suddenly, Tom tripped and fell, the flashlight flying from his grasp and rolling away. I screamed his name, dropping to my knees to help him up. As I reached out, I saw movement out of the corner of my eye, a dark figure emerging from the trees, moving with an unnatural grace. "Get up, Tom!" I cried, pulling at his arm. He groaned in pain, clutching his ankle. The figure drew closer, and I felt an icy chill run down my spine. I grabbed the flashlight and shone it towards the figure, but the light seemed to have no effect. The figure remained a shadowy silhouette, its features obscured by the darkness. Desperation filled me as I looked around for something, anything, to defend us. But the road was empty, and the forest offered no refuge. "We have to go!" I screamed, helping Tom to his feet. He leaned on me heavily, and we stumbled forward, the figure still in pursuit. Every step was agony, but we couldn't stop. The figure's footsteps were slow but deliberate, as if it knew we had no escape. Just when I thought we might have a chance, Tom collapsed again, his face pale and contorted with pain. The figure was almost upon us, its presence a tangible weight pressing down on me. "Leave him," a voice whispered in my ear, though no one was there. "Save yourself." I shook my head, tears streaming down my face. "No, I can't." The figure stopped a few feet away, and for the first time, I could make out its features. Its eyes were hollow, voids of darkness that seemed to swallow the light. Its mouth twisted into a grotesque smile, revealing sharp, jagged teeth. "Run," Tom whispered, his voice barely audible. "Go!" But I couldn't move. My legs were rooted to the spot, my mind screaming in terror. The figure reached out a hand, its fingers long and claw-like, and I knew we were out of time. In a final act of defiance, I swung the flashlight at the figure, but it passed him. The figure laughed, a sound that echoed through the trees, sending shivers down my spine. "Your turn," it hissed, and everything went black. When I came to, I was lying on the cold, hard ground, the flashlight flickering beside me. Tom was gone, and the forest was silent once more. I struggled to my feet, every muscle aching, and stumbled back towards the car, my mind a blur of fear and confusion. I never saw Tom again. The police searched the area but found no trace of him or the figure that had pursued us. They called it a tragic accident, a case of a young couple getting lost in the woods. But I knew the truth, the silent hunter was real, and it was still out there, waiting for its next victim. Even now, I can't escape the memory of that night. Every rustle of leaves, every shadow in the corner of my eye, brings it all back. The silent hunter is always watching, always waiting, and I know that one day, it will come for me again.